My name is Emma Collins. I'm 28 years old, and just 2 weeks ago, I thought I had married the love of my life. Our wedding was a dream, the kind you see in movies. The dress, the music, the promises of forever. Everything looked perfect. But what if I told you that behind the smiles and the champagne glasses, there was a secret so dark it almost destroyed me? On our honeymoon, I discovered the kind of betrayal no wife ever expects. Lies, hidden affairs, and a shocking twist that turned my paradise into a nightmare. But instead of breaking me, his betrayal gave me strength, and I planned a revenge so unforgettable, it would change both of our lives forever. If you are watching this right now, drop a comment and tell me where you're viewing from. And before I reveal this life-changing decision, hit like and subscribe to hear more real stories. Because trust me, you don't want to miss how my dream honeymoon turned into the perfect stage for revenge. It was the kind of wedding every little girl dreams about. A white dress that sparkled under the lights, flowers that filled the air with sweetness, and music that made the night feel magical. My friends cheered, my parents cried, and everyone said, "You two are perfect for each other." I stood there, smiling at the man I believed was my forever. He held my hand so tightly, whispered promises in my ear, and looked at me like I was his whole world. For a moment, I thought I had it all: love, happiness, and a future I could finally trust. But here's the truth no one knew that night, while I was saying I do. He was already hiding a secret so dangerous it would soon shatter everything. And as I smiled for the cameras, I had no idea my dream wedding was the first step into the darkest chapter of my life. Our honeymoon started like a dream. We flew to the island of Crete, a place so beautiful it felt unreal. Crystal blue water, golden sunsets, and little streets that smelled of fresh bread and jasmine flowers. He held my hand everywhere we went, making me believe I was the luckiest woman alive. We laughed, we kissed, we made promises about our future. Strangers looked at us and smiled, saying we were a picture-perfect couple. But here's the part no one saw. Behind his sweet words and gentle smile, he was already making plans I could never imagine. At the time, I thought we were just starting our new life together. But in reality, I was walking straight into a trap. And the island that looked like paradise would soon feel like a prison. On our third night in Crete, something strange happened. We were having dinner by the sea, the waves crashing gently in the background, when a woman I had never seen before walked past our table. She slowed down, glanced at my husband, and then at me. Her eyes were filled with something: fear, maybe pity. She leaned closer as if to whisper, but instead she quietly slipped a folded note into my hand and walked away without a word. I froze. My husband laughed, too busy with his wine to notice. When he wasn't looking, I opened the note under the table. The words sent chills down my spine. "Be careful. He is not who you think he is." My heart stopped. What did she mean? Who was she? And why would she warn me about the man I just married? That night, I couldn't sleep. The note kept replaying in my head: "He is not who you think he is." Around midnight, I heard my husband's phone buzz on the nightstand. He grabbed it quickly and slipped out onto the balcony. I pretended to be asleep, but my heart raced. His voice was low, sharp, almost angry. I could only catch pieces of the conversation. "She doesn't know. Not yet. I'll handle it." My stomach twisted. Who was he talking about? Was he talking about me? When he walked back inside, he wore a smile. Too perfect, too forced. He climbed into bed and kissed my forehead as if nothing had happened. But in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I had married a stranger, and I wasn't sure if I was safe anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. The note kept replaying in my head: "He is not who you think he is." Around midnight, I heard my husband's phone buzz on the nightstand. He grabbed it quickly and slipped out onto the balcony. I pretended to be asleep, but my heart raced. His voice was low, sharp, almost angry. I could only catch pieces of the conversation. "She doesn't know. Not yet. I'll handle it." My stomach twisted. Who was he talking about? Was he talking about me? When he walked back inside, he wore a smile. Too perfect, too forced. He climbed into bed and kissed my forehead as if nothing had happened. But in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I had married a stranger, and I wasn't sure if I was safe anymore. The next morning, while my husband was showering, I noticed his phone on the dresser. For a moment, I froze. Curiosity burned inside me, but before I could reach for it, I heard the water shut off. My eyes darted to the corner of the room, where his small travel bag sat. Something about it felt off. It was locked with a tiny padlock, like it was guarding a secret. Why would he bring a locked bag on our honeymoon? Later that day, when he left to buy wine, I tried to open it. My hands shook as I tugged at the zipper, but it wouldn't budge. Then I noticed a faint scratch on the lock, as if someone else had already tried. At that moment, I heard footsteps outside the door. He was back, earlier than expected. I shoved the bag under the bed just in time. He walked in, eyes narrowing slightly, almost as if he knew I had been too close to the truth. That evening, after dinner, I told my husband I was too tired and stayed back at the hotel. But something in me couldn't rest. I watched from the balcony as he walked down the street and turned into a dark alley. My heart pounded. Why would he go there alone in the middle of the night? I grabbed my shawl and followed quietly, keeping my distance. The alley smelled of salt water and smoke. That's when I saw him, standing with a man I had never seen before. They spoke in low voices, too quiet for me to hear, but the man slipped an envelope into my husband's hand. My stomach twisted. An envelope. Cash? Documents? What was happening? Before I could move, the stranger's eyes flicked toward me. For a split second, I was sure he saw me hiding in the shadows. I held my breath, frozen in fear, praying he wouldn't call out my name. I hurried back to the hotel before my husband could notice I had followed him. My hands were shaking, my heart racing. All I could think about was that envelope. When he finally returned, he slipped it into his suitcase as if it were nothing. He smiled at me, kissed my forehead, and asked if I wanted dessert. But his eyes told a different story. Later that night, while he was in the shower, I stood frozen in front of the suitcase. My fingers hovered over the zipper. Should I open it? What if he caught me? The sound of running water gave me courage. Slowly, I pulled the zipper down. My heart thudded so loud I was sure he could hear it over the shower. And then, I saw it. The envelope. Thick. Heavy. My hands trembled as I reached for it, but just as I touched it, the shower stopped. I froze. The water had stopped. My husband could step out any second. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might faint. I grabbed the envelope with shaky hands and ran to the balcony. My fingers tore it open. Inside, stacks of cash. But that wasn't all. There was also a small photograph of him with another woman. She was smiling, her hand resting on his chest like they were more than just friends. My whole body went cold. Who was she? Why was he hiding this picture? And why here, on our honeymoon? I stuffed everything back into the envelope just as the bathroom door clicked open. He called my name, sounding so calm, so normal. I forced a smile, but inside I was breaking. I knew my honeymoon had just turned into a nightmare, and the worst part was, I had no idea what he was planning next. My phone buzzed late that night. At first, I thought it was just a random message, but when I picked it up, the screen showed an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. A man's voice whispered, "You don't know me, but I know your husband. You're in danger." My heart dropped. I asked who he was, but the line went silent for a moment. Then he said, "If you value your life, don't trust him. He isn't who you think he is." Before I could ask anything else, the call ended. I sat frozen, staring at the phone in my hand. My husband walked back into the room smiling, asking if everything was okay. I forced a nod, hiding my shaking hands. But inside, I knew. The nightmare was only beginning. Someone out there knew the truth about him, and maybe soon I would too. I laid awake all night, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. The stranger's warning wouldn't leave me. Don't trust your husband. The next morning, while he was in the shower, I reached for his phone. My hands were trembling, my heart pounding so loud I thought he might hear it. I scrolled through, and there it was. Messages hidden under a strange name, locked, protected by a password I didn't know. My chest tightened. What was he hiding? Then something else caught my eye. An email, a flight ticket, one way, booked in his name, to a city he had never once mentioned to me. My breath caught in my throat. Why would he need a one-way ticket? Was he planning to leave me? Or was it something much darker? I quickly put the phone back before he stepped out of the bathroom. I forced a smile, but inside, I felt my world slipping away. And one thing was clear. The man I married was keeping a secret that could destroy everything. I couldn't sit still anymore. I had to know the truth. That evening, I told my husband I was tired and wanted to stay in, but instead, I followed him. My heart raced as I walked a few steps behind, staying in the shadows. The narrow streets of Crete felt colder than ever, every sound echoing like a warning. He stopped outside a dimly lit cafe. My stomach tightened. Waiting there was a woman, tall, elegant, and smiling at him like they had known each other for years. I hid behind a wall, my hands shaking as I watched them lean close, whispering. He reached for her hand. My breath caught. I felt like the ground beneath me was gone. I wanted to storm in, scream, demand answers. But something inside told me to wait, to watch. Because sometimes the quiet truth is louder than any confrontation. And what I saw next made me question if I was ever really his wife at all. I couldn't sleep that night. The image of him with that woman kept replaying in my head like a movie I didn't want to watch. By morning, I had made my decision. No more hiding. No more pretending everything was fine. When he walked back into the room, smiling like nothing had happened, I felt my hands shaking. I looked straight into his eyes and said, "We need to talk. Now." For a moment, he froze. His smile disappeared. I saw fear flash across his face, just for a second before he tried to laugh it off. But I didn't laugh. My voice was calm, but cold. "Who is she?" The silence that followed was louder than any scream. And in that silence, I knew the truth was about to break us apart. He blinked, stuttered, then forced a smile. "What are you talking about?" he asked, pretending not to understand. But I wasn't backing down. My heart was pounding, yet my voice stayed firm. "Don't lie to me. I saw you. Last night." He shook his head, pacing the room, spinning one excuse after another. "You misunderstood. She's just a friend. You're overthinking." Every word felt like poison. He thought he could twist the truth, wrap me up in his lies, and make me doubt myself. But deep down, I knew. His eyes, his trembling hands, the way his voice cracked, it all betrayed him. And as I stood there, watching him struggle to cover his betrayal, one thought echoed in my mind. If he can lie this easily now, how long has he been lying to me? I felt my chest tighten as I stared at him. My world was crumbling, but he stood there, calm, almost smug, as if his lies could still protect him. "Stop," I said, my voice trembling but strong. "No more excuses. Tell me the truth. Now." For a moment, silence filled the room. He avoided my eyes, biting his lip, his hands clenched into fists. And then, he snapped. His voice turned sharp, defensive. "Fine. You want the truth? You couldn't handle it if I told you." Those words cut deeper than any confession. He didn't deny it anymore. He didn't even try. Tears burned in my eyes, but at the same time a strange strength rose inside me. That was the moment I realized. This marriage, this honeymoon, this dream, it was all built on lies. And tonight, it was all about to shatter. The night was heavy, the air sharp with silence. I packed my bag slowly, every sound echoing like thunder in that cold hotel room. He tried to speak, tried to stop me, but his voice no longer held power over me. I looked at him one last time. And in that moment, I saw it all: his fear, his guilt, his loss. "You had everything," I whispered, my voice steady. "But you chose betrayal." With those words, I walked out. The door closed behind me, not just on a room, but on a life built on lies. As I stepped into the night, a strange calm washed over me. Pain still burned in my chest, but freedom had finally found me. And that was the real ending of our honeymoon, an ending I never expected, but one that set me free forever.